All right, we're back for example 2. Now, before we get started, we have to talk about some really super important vocabulary. And this whole chapter is really based on this vocabulary. So please make flashcards and make sure you really understand these definitions and vocabulary terms. So the first one is a transversal. Now, a transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines. Okay, so coplanar lines are lines in the same plane at two different points. So which of these lines? So there's a line here, R, S, and then there's line T. Which of these lines intersect two coplanar lines? So line R intersects one line. Line S intersects one line. Line T intersects 2 coplanar lines. So that is our transversal. So our transversal right here is line T. It's really important that you're able to identify a transversal. So look for that line that intersects 2 coplanar lines. So line T is our transversal line. Now, what happens is when this transversal intersects two lines, what it does is it causes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different angles, okay? And it's really important because the vocabulary that we're going to talk about next has to deal with all of these angles. So, yeah, just notice that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Also, well, some different characteristics. So in between these two lines, do you see how there's these two lines? In between them, those are called interior, okay? So those are the interior angles. So the interior angles for this would be angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. Those are all interior angles. And these two lines, the angles on the outside would be called exterior angles. So angle 1 is an exterior angle, angle 2 is an exterior angle, angle 7 is an exterior angle, and also angle 8 is also an exterior angle. Okay, so that's important. Okay, now we're going to move forward. So the first vocabulary, or not the first, the second after transversal, are corresponding angles. Now, corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal of T. Okay, so let's just think about that. The same side as the transversal. So this transversal really splits these eight angles into two sides, right? So one side would be 2, 4, 6, and 8, and then the other side would be 1, 3, 5, 7. So what we know is corresponding angles lie on the same side. Okay, so they lie on the same side, either the right side or the left side, but there's more. So they lie on the same side of the transversal on the same sides of lines R and S. Okay, now what does that mean? So what I'm going to say is that when you're looking at line R, there's really angles that are on there's lines that are, there's angles that are on the X, basically the top of line R, and there's angles that are on the bottom of line R. So right here, the angles on the top of line R are angles 1 and 2. The angles on the bottom of line R are 3 and 4. Also, if we look at line S, the angles on the top of line S would be 5 and 6, and the angles on the bottom of line S would be 7 and 8. So corresponding angles have two characteristics. Number one, they have to lie on the same side, right? So let's just think about the left side first. And on the same sides as of line R and S. So that's the second characteristic. So, okay, let's see. What would that be? So if they have to be on the same side, and they have to be the angles that are like on the top. So on the same side and that are on the top of R and the top of S would be 1 and 5. So angle 1 and 5, those are corresponding angles, okay? So they're on the left side and they're on the top of R and S. Now, what would be the other ones? Well, that would be the ones that are on the left side but on the bottom of R and S. So that would be 3 is on the bottom of R and 7 is on the bottom of S. So those are also corresponding angles. So angle 3 and angle 7. Now those are two sets of corresponding, angles on the left side of the transversal. Let's talk about the corresponding angles that would be on the right side of the transversal. So we're talking about the right side is 2, 4, 6, 8, but they also have to be on the same sides of R and S, which means they both either have to be on the top of R and S, which would be angles 2 and 6. So that would be angle 2 and 6. Angle 6 are also corresponding, on the right side would be the angles on the bottom of R and S, which would be angles 4 and 8. So those are also corresponding angles. Okay? So there's really 4 sets of corresponding angles within this picture, okay? So really you have to know what corresponding angles are. The next one are alternate interior angles. Okay, so alternate interior angles. Those are non-adjacent angles. Okay, so they're not right next to each other. Okay, so they're not right next to each other. So what would be angles that are next to each other? Adjacent would be 1 and 2 are adjacent, 1 and 3 are adjacent, right? 2 and 4 are adjacent, 3 and 4 are adjacent, like 5 and 6 are adjacent, 5 and 7 are adjacent, 7 and 8 are adjacent, 6 and 8. Those are all adjacent. So these are non-adjacent angles, okay? So they're not right next to each other. So they're non-adjacent angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal T. So non-adjacent angles that lie on opposite sides of transversal T between lines R and S. Okay, so if you're looking at this picture, all of the interior angles are right in here, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? But they have to be on opposite, they're not adjacent, so that means 3 and 4 can't be alternate interior, and 5 and 6 can't be, okay? So they're interior angles that are alternate, so they have to be on opposite sides of the transversal. So that means that 4 and 5 they're on opposite sides and they're not adjacent, right? This is on the right side of the transversal, this is on the left side of the transversal. So angle 4 and 5 are alternate interior, right? Interior angles, so alternate interior angles. That would be one example, would be angle 4 and 5. And then the second example would be angle 3 and 6. Okay? And those are really the only 2 examples for alternate interior angles. The next one would be alternate exterior angles. And alternate exterior angles lie on opposite sides of the transversal outside the lines of R and S, okay? So those are alternate exterior angles, okay? Lie on opposite sides of the transversal T outside the lines of R and S. So here, if you're looking, the exterior angles are 1 and 2, and 7 and 8, and they lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So that would be angle 2 and 7 are alternate exterior, and also 1 and 8. So the first example would be angle 2 and angle 7, and the second example, right, alternate exterior, and 1 and 8. Okay, the last angles that you need to know about are same side interior angles. So same side interior angles, those are consecutive interior angles. So they're the angles that are inside, right? So 3, 4, 5, and 6, those are the interior angles. So consecutive interior angles lie on the same side of the transversal. Ooh, same side of the transversal T between R and S. Okay. So what would that be? Okay, so that's interior angles that lie on the same side. So that would be 3 and 5. They are interior angles on the same side of the transversal. So one example would be angle 3 and angle 5. And then the other example of interior angles that lie on the same side would be angles 4 and 6. All right, so we talked about transversal, corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and same side interior angles. Okay, we'll be back in just a little bit to go over and practice those with example 2.